Hey everybody, welcome back to Train of Thought. My name is Trey, and this is where I share my thoughts on the NHL. Not the Winnipeg Jets this time, because the Jets have the day off, as do I, from my normal job, which also coincides with Columbus Day slash Canadian Thanksgiving. That's not why I had the day off. I just was scheduled to have the day off today. But since there's a lot of early games going on, especially a lot of Central Division foes of the Jets, and especially since they're playing Eastern Conference teams, where it's a little bit easier to root for the Eastern Conference guys because the Jets aren't playing them very regularly. They're not fighting for playoff spots against them. So it was exciting to see a bunch of early games and be able to go, hey, I want to watch this game because of kind of how my day works out between hanging out with my family and watching those games. So I just got done watching the Buffalo Sabres take on the Dallas Stars in Buffalo. And it was an impressive showing by Buffalo. I know they haven't made the playoffs for quite a while, and they're one of those teams where it's kind of like, how are they gonna, be terrible this year or whatever? As there's been a lot of years, including last year, where they get off to a good start. They're sitting in the playoff picture around the halfway point of the season. I know at one point, I can't remember what point of the season it was, but they were in first place and looking really good. And then the bottom fell out. They went from being on a 10-game winning streak to having a pretty long losing streak, and then finishing towards the bottom of the standings and having their coach get fired. So they're a talented team with a lot of good young players. Jack Eichel being the core of that. Jeff Skinner just re-signed with them, a pretty big deal after having a monster season last year. So they have a good core there of players. And then Dallas, they came into the season as by some pundits being picked as a Stanley Cup favorite. They had a pretty good season last year, got into the playoffs as a wild card, knocked out Nashville in the first round, and then got beat by St. Louis in the second round on a double overtime goal in Game 7. So they were that close from knocking off the eventual Stanley Cup champions. So when you look at that, you can say, man, they're a pretty solid team. And then they got Joe Pavelski in the offseason to bolster their offense, as they led the NHL or were near the top in a lot of the defensive categories, have a pretty solid D-core. And then they have Ben Bishop as their starting goalie, who is up there as one of the best goalies in the NHL. So a lot of people were hoping that, that solid D-core combined with the signing of Pavelski will help put them over the top. It didn't really help them today, as Buffalo had a pretty impressive showing, winning 4-0. The Sabres didn't play a bad period. I mean, their worst period was the first period, and that's simply because they didn't score. It was 0-0 after the first period, but they played well. Neither team really had any sustained offensive zone pressure. It was pretty wide open, but then the second period started, and the Sabres took it to them. And the first goal, you could just see it coming, where Sabres had a power play. They've been clicking pretty well on their power play. They came in to the game over 40% on their power play so far. And they had the puck in their possession for like a minute and a half, and in their zone for well over a minute of that a minute and a half, and then they were able to set it up, and Victor Olofsson scored the goal on a pretty nice one-timer, and he set an NHL record. I guess I need to look him up a little bit more if he's a pure rookie. I think he is. He might have started or played in a few games last year, since he only has 5 goals this year. But he set an NHL record for scoring his first 7 goals on the power play, which is pretty rare. I know the Sabres were talking about it on their broadcast, saying that's very rare for a rookie to have that many power play goals at the beginning, and especially when he's setting an NHL record, it shows how rare it is, because young guys usually have to earn their stripes on the power play. But he's known as a sniper. He's up there. Probably, I'm still learning a little bit about the Sabres, but if I were to compare it to the Jets, the easy comparison is comparing him to Laine. So he was having an impressive start. He also assisted on the second goal of the game. And then you got Jack Eichel, their captain, who I think he's in his is it his 5th season in the league? And he had 2 assists on the game. Jeff Skinner, one of their offensive studs that I mentioned earlier, he had a really pretty goal where he skated in, got in really deep, and then just went to the backhand and flipped it over Bishop. Another thing regarding Bishop is this is the first time that the Sabres had ever beat him. When the Sabres finally scored to make it 1-0, that snapped scoreless streak against Bishop going multiple years, and back to when he played for Tampa, to where it was like over 156 minutes. So that's over 2.5 games worth of time when he hadn't given up a goal. So that's a pretty impressive streak by him, and showed the dominance that he had. But he didn't, I don't know if there's any goals that were really like, oh man, he should have had that. But 4 goals for an elite goaltender like Bishop, you could say that's a little bit of an off day. And then staying on goaltending, going to Carter Hutton. He had 25 saves, made the timely saves when he needed to. I don't remember seeing anything super spectacular, because the Stars honestly had a really tough time creating chances. So the game started at 2:00 Central Time, 3:00 local time in Buffalo. But it just seems like, in my experience as a fan, when a team in a lot of different sports, not just hockey, but when a team is going to the Eastern time zone that's from out west somewhere, that they can struggle with those afternoon games, especially a rare weekday afternoon game. How often do you have those in the NHL? So that probably contributed, maybe not, I don't know. But that's one thing that I was thinking about through the game, where the Sabres were saying, oh yeah, Dallas was hoping to really, have a strong energy effort today, and didn't really see that. So that's what I have for that game. Please let me know what you think if you were to watch that game. Let me know what teams, if you're not a Jets fan, you might want me to take a look at, and I can see if I can watch those games and do more reviews like this. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really liked it, please subscribe. So thanks, and I will talk to you later.